That means audio everywhere as well, so no more F-bombs for the rest of the night. Let me see here, let me get everything that I need. Audio everywhere as well, so no I can hear myself twice. Okay. Alrighty. Everyone, thank you so much for coming. Professor Julio, thank you for coming. Before I finish off introducing our guest, some quick rules for everyone who's listening. You're more than welcome to ask questions the whole time we run this interview. So the YouTube's running, the Facebook's running. I can see all those questions when they arrive. If you ask a question in the Zoom chat, I'll see those too, and we can try slip it into the conversation. If you get so absorbed with the wisdom that Professor Julio starts dropping on us, then you can ask your question at the end as well. We'll open up for question time then too. So that's it. That's all I have to say. Now we can introduce and welcome our guest, Professor Julio, the head coach and owner of Gracie Barra West Ride, third degree black belt, and a fearsome competitor. I still remember one of my first or second competitions I ever visited, watching you fight and asking Professor Pedro, man, who's that guy? Who's that guy fighting? So, Professor Julio, thank you so much for coming tonight, jumping on the stream with us.
Thanks for having me, Nick. Thanks, Professor Rodolfo. Hope you guys can learn a little bit from what I have to say.
That's it, man. I'm sure we will. So, man, I've watched you compete, but I don't know a lot about your personal history and when you came to Australia and things like that. So perhaps that's the best place for us to start. What age did you start training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So I started training quite late. That's a regret I had. I was 19, so I focused my whole youth competing different sports, mainly basketball, and then when I was 19, I kind of realized I couldn't be a professional basketball player, and I started uni at the same time, but I need to do something else. So I was lucky that the gym that I used to work out had jiu-jitsu as well, so I kind of knew the guys, and I started training a little bit, and then that was in '99, so I never stopped ever since.
I should have asked to begin, actually, whereabouts in Brazil were you born and living at the time when you were studying and starting jiu-jitsu?
So I'm from a small city. It's called Volta Redonda. It's in the Rio de Janeiro state, about 2 hours driving from Rio. So it's kind of good, because back then was the jiu-jitsu was very strong in Rio, and we had a lot of influence from what was on fire. So it was easy to get a lot of people coming to my city to teach and start spreading the jiu-jitsu around the area. But it still was small. Like I would say, my hometown has about 300,000 people, and we didn't have more than 3 gyms.
Okay.
In the whole city. Yeah.
Okay. And the gym you began training at was a mixed martial arts gym, or just had other gym facilities at the same time? Was jiu-jitsu its main focus?
No, back then it was very common to have jiu-jitsu inside like a workout gym. So like a big gym that had a spare room, most of the time it's a small one, and someone just came over and start teaching. The original place to start training, they were a team called Nova União. They're still around, so they're quite big actually. And we stay with them for about 5 years, and like 6 months before I came to Australia, there was a problem there that the guy that used to come down from Rio and teach us couldn't come anymore, and then someone from Checkmate just show up there and start and took over the place. So I kind of stayed with them, but that was just 6 months. So after that, 2004, I came over to Australia.
Okay, so you came to Australia when you were 25, I think, if my maths is right.
24?
24.
24.
Yeah.
24, and I was still a blue belt. let me see. I got my blue belt the end of on the year 2000. So I was around 5 years in my blue belt. Yeah, when I came.
Wow. Maybe we'll talk about 5 years at blue belt in a minute as part of your jiu-jitsu journey. But so you came to Australia, 24 years old. You picked up training straight away. I know Professor Pedro, when he mentioned coming to Australia, there was a bit of a delay maybe as he got settled. Or did you jump straight back into the mats?
Nah, not really. I remember like it was today. I arrived in Australia on a Sunday morning, and I was staying mainly. So Monday, I went to the agent that organized everything for me to come over,
Mm-hmm.
and they advised me to take the bus from Manly all along Peachwater Road, going to the Ringa Mall and just get to know the area. On my way going up in North Manly, I saw a sign of a jiu-jitsu school, the Machados, in North Manly with Anthony Lang. So on my way back, I stopped over. I was lucky there was a class going on, so I couldn't kind of have a conversation with him because I couldn't speak any English, but he understood that I trained and I want to start training.
Yeah.
Next day I came back. So I arrived on a Sunday. On a Tuesday, I was training already.
Wow. He heard the Brazilian accent and he said, yeah, don't worry, buddy, you'll fit in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, that's terrific. So at that stage, were you really hooked on jiu-jitsu already? Is that why you sort of gravitated towards it so fast, or it was just something familiar when you'd arrived in Australia?
Nah, yeah, I was hooked already. I didn't brought a gi, just my belt, and I had to. I didn't have much money, but I have. Let me say, I had. If I remember right, I have $1,100 on my pocket, and I was like, let's see how much I can survive with this money, but I still have to buy a gi with this money.
Yeah.
There was no space. There was no space in my luggage to fit a gi. I had a 1 month of accommodation pay. So I was like, I think I can stretch a little bit until I find a job. Let's see. So I got that. So luckily they had a gi to sell, and I just got a gi straight away on the spot and start training.
Man.
Yeah.
Amazing. And like, wow, traveling something like that, changing your life like that when you're young is something that makes me really nervous. But the way you talk about it now, at least, you seem quite relaxed. Is that just because you're telling the story, or at the time were you kind of just comfortable and just trying things out anyway?
Was easier for me because with the barrier of not speaking English, jiu-jitsu was something that I could do, and I didn't have to talk to anyone. I just had to train. So it was easy in that way, and also helped me a lot because everything different you do when you first arrive in Australia will help you to learn the language. So, for example, even after years later, talking with my girlfriend but wife now, I like about part of the body and things that we use in jiu-jitsu. I learned because of jiu-jitsu, and she had no idea, even though she was living here for a while already. But depending on the environment you put yourself in, you learn ways to talk that people do who doesn't do it, Yeah. And it was good for me, like learning part of the bodies and the expression of jiu-jitsu. It was funny because even in Brazil, we do use some expressions that in English for submission, for example, the arm lock, I was like, oh, arm lock is English, fine. But then when I got here, people let's do the arm bar. I was like, well, what about the arm lock?
Yeah.
So it's just it was good for me to learn the vocabulary and also make friends because I was fresh here. I didn't know anyone. I was going to English school, back home, and that's it. So different activities will help a lot with the process.
And to train under Anthony Lang as well, one of the biggest and first names in Australian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah,
What was it like to train with him?
was good, man. He was a great guy. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He only helped me.
Mm.
Uh, let's say about a month later, I learned that Professor Marcelo
Mm-hmm,
had a
mm-hmm.
place in Maine, which was actually a little closer from where I used to live. But then it was too late, and also I didn't want to change. I never wanted to be a creonte. So
Yeah.
when I first came to Australia, I was like, where is a Nova União school here? Because I just want to stick with them and never be a creonte. But there was
Mm,
none.
mm,
Actually, it
mm.
was one in Southern. I was like,
Way
can't go
too
to
far.
Southern.
Yeah, not from
Way too
Manly. No
far.
way.
Yeah, not too many.
Professor, just quickly, could you explain for the people who are tuning in who don't know the term creonte, what it means and what it means for jiu-jitsu?
Well, um, it depends how you see, but back then you used to be used for the person that left the one team and joined the other
Mm,
for no reason,
mm,
you know, just because it was more convenient.
mm,
For example, even today, I know we as a school owner we offer service, right? So you
mm,
pay a membership,
mm,
you use our facilities, our teaching method. That's it. That's fine. Well, and of course there is the friendship and everything else.
mm,
But if someone stopped training with us and join the gym that's maybe 5 minutes closer to his place,
mm.
just because of that, I don't want to drive another 5 minutes. That's how I see the creonte,
Yeah, yeah,
surgery, because what's 5 minutes,
yeah.
But if someone lives across the city and can't make it, what am I gonna, what am I gonna do?
Yeah, of
It's
course.
better for him to train someone else than to stop training altogether.
Mm, mm. So then you began training with Anthony Lang. Didn't want to leave him in once you heard about Professor Marcelo's school, but of course you're with Gracie Barra now. How long did you stay training? I think you said it was a Machado school, training with a Machado team. How long did you train with them?
Yeah. I did train with them for a little bit over a year,
Mm-hmm.
and was actually him who gave me my purple belt.
Cool.
So actually, I got to know Professor Marcelo a little better because in my first tournament, my second tournament in Australia, I fought one of his students.
Uh-huh.
I did, I would say, in a year, about 4 tournaments, so 5 with the Machados, and was like the whole year that I had my English school paid. So I came to study English for 1 year, and after that, when I decided to stay, I had to change my visa. I didn't want to keep doing English, and also because the immigration kind of make it harder for you if you just want to stay with the same course. They want to see you kind of improving in while you try to study. So Professor Marcelo had this connection with this personal training school that is kind of the same thing that he does now. But back then was with this little place in Manly. So you join the school, get a visa through that school to study, to be a personal trainer in Australia. The theory part, you study with them. But then the assessments and all the practice, you could choose what kind of sport you do. So that school had this connection with Professor Marcelo. You could be a personal trainer, and all the practicing part was jiu-jitsu only. You could choose between jiu-jitsu, rugby, surf, and something else. So I was like, well, it's a little better for me, but I still want to train with Anton Lang. But after a couple of weeks doing both, I realized that wouldn't work, because the amount of training I had to do for the school, for the visa, was too much. It was six sessions a week. 6 sessions a week is training every day, Monday to Friday, and double one of the days.
It's already full time. Yeah.
There was no time to go back and train with the Machados anymore. So I had to go back to Anthony, apologize, explain why I was leaving, and he understood. I bumped into him, all the comps we talk, so it's all good.
Yeah, and a terrific opportunity. It'd be cruel of him to stop you taking that, I think, an opportunity like that. Yeah, man, fantastic. So then, let me see if my maths is correct. You are now a purple belt, 25 or 26 years old, training under Professor Marcelo.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're already competing by this stage and competing in Australia. Maybe before we talk about sort of your personal competition experiences and your attitude towards competition and things like this, man, what were competitions like in Australia back in, 2005 or so then? 2005, 2006? Because I know just in the short time I've trained jiu-jitsu, the competitions have changed a lot. The number in a year, the amount of people going, the quality of competitor, the scale of the kids' competitions is huge now. What was it like somewhat 15, 16 years ago?
Yeah, so of course the comps were a lot smaller. In 2004 and 5, I would say the comps didn't have more than 200 competitors. It was kind of small, and even with the organization of the comp, like the mats, they were all different colors. They're like, one mat was yellow, the other one was red, the other was green, because it was pretty much the people that were teaching jiu-jitsu already in Australia, grabbing the jigsaw mats from the gym and carrying to the sitting unit, still the same place, but it was on top. It wasn't the one downstairs. When you first walk, on your left at the basketball courts, where the comps were for the longest time. I think only the last few years, maybe, they moved down to the bigger area downstairs. And there was it was very like the comps in Brazil, like people kind of sitting around the edge, all the pressure, people screaming.
No railing, hey? No railing.
Not much, not much. It was intense, but it was fun. It was very good. But that's all we had, and is either there or nothing,
You mentioned, I think, about, say, 200 people fighting, 200 competitors.
Yeah.
What was the depth in competitor like? Do you think you could compare it? Obviously, now there's many more people turning up to compete, but I wonder if at that time, the 200 who were doing jiu-jitsu were diehard about their jiu-jitsu. What was the quality of competitor like?
I would say it's pretty much the same. Of course, was like today, the majority of the competitors was the white belts, and a little bit of the blues. Wasn't many color belts back then. I remember that even today, if you like maybe a purple belt towards the brown belt, if you compete every single time, you meet the same guys, because in your own weight, it's not gonna be many new guys. But before it was even less. I remember that from the blue belt to the black, I had the same guys for a long time.
Yeah.
Like the ones that didn't quit, they all came up together, and of course with the opportunity of having more exposure to different techniques and different training, traveling, like people can watch a bunch of different techniques on YouTube. The training was the competition actually was a little more rough, because it was like very basic jiu-jitsu. It was like take it down, pull close guard, and that's it. You didn't see many fancy moves, to be honest.
No, no berimbolo yet.
No.
Man, wild. Alrighty, so maybe let's backtrack a little bit and talk more about your own jiu-jitsu journey. So we've sort of talked a little bit how you're training as a white belt in Brazil. You were blue by the time you came to Australia. Um, what was the hardest part in your jiu-jitsu journey? Was it some of the earlier belts, or maybe the most difficult experiences? Did they come later when you went to even more serious competition?
Um, I would say the purple belt was quite challenging,
Mm.
because in the purple belt, you're probably going to be training over 5, 6 years already. So is your competitors.
Mm.
So the comps that you go is a little longer. It's already 7 minutes. That doesn't seem much, but from white belt to purple belt, extra 2 minutes. You got to improve your cardio. It's longer fights. But it was good because I had the opportunity to travel a lot for different comps. I competed on the last World Championship in Brazil before they moved to America as a purple belt
Mm-hmm.
in 2006. Was great, and and that you already understand jiu-jitsu, but you are still quite far from
Mm.
from the black belt. Like every now and then, you think you're doing great, you train well with everyone, and then someone show up you never seen before, and you make a mistake, and you're like, man, I've been training for a while. How come? But that's the difference between the purple belt and the black belt.
Mm.
Sometimes I try to say that to the students. I tell them, guys, don't get me wrong, but you only a blue belt,
Yeah.
So if someone submit you to the same submission 3 times, that's fine, because there's a big jump between you and a brown belt, and that's how I felt. I felt I was tough. I was young,
Mm.
could go for forever, but if I get like the a brown belt with like a very good, let's say, half guard, I couldn't get out. My knowledge was kind of limited, so you kind of think that you're on top of the world, but it's still a long way to get there.
Yeah, I understand. I have to say that's very reassuring, Professor. I'm a purple belt, and I know sometimes I train with Professor Rodolfo, and he hits me with something, and I just think, what the hell is that? Where did that come from? Man, cool to hear you talk about that experience too. Alrighty, so we've already spoken a lot about competition. Was competition something that for you was on the horizon as soon as you started training? Did you think, maybe after a few weeks or a few months, oh yeah, I'm going to go and compete for sure? Or did someone push you towards competition?
Uh, I had my first comp after 1 month training. So it was like a internal comp. They invite the other gyms in the city, so everyone come over. It was very intense. Because it was like one mat, everyone sitting around screaming, and I got submitted from the guy that was inside my close guard. In Brazil, we call the submission a massapão, which is they grab the collars and they just shovel the knuckles into your neck. I didn't know anything, of course. I had 1 month of training.
1 month.
But
Yeah.
I look to the side, and the guy that I trained at the time just look back, is like, tap.
Man.
But it was good that I had a sweet revenge. 5 months later, that comp went around to the city, to all the gyms, and I got to face the same guy, and I beat him like quite easily, and so for some other guys. So I guess because of my background in basketball, I was not afraid, because if you know basketball is a very intense game, and could be quite aggressive sometimes. So I was used to that. Like, what is it? Just like compete with someone, I'm fine. I do that like
Yeah.
every weekend, you know.
Yeah.
But of course, as an individual sport, all the eyes on you is a little different, you know. But was natural, you know. Like first month, actually the professor didn't actually look at me. He looked around like, guys, we have a comp, you know. He'll start taking names. He skipped me. I was like, can I join? He's like, would you like to? I was like, why not? It's like, okay.
Wow. Okay.
So I joined.
Yeah.
And to be honest, from that group back then, probably very few guys I still in touch over like Facebook and stuff. I'm the one that kept training the most. Some of them, they did get the black belts, but like as a hobby, they have other jobs, you know, and they're not consistent. So I'm a higher rank than all of them together.
Yeah. Do you think they didn't keep up training the same way you did because it just wasn't as much a priority for them, whereas it was for you? I mean, you came to Australia and started to build your life around jiu-jitsu, or do you think maybe they didn't approach training the right way to kind of give themselves the best chance at succeeding over the long term?
I believe my move to Australia, it's what make me kept training the way I am today, because I could combine a simple lifestyle because I work as a kid hand for 4 years, you know. It was very tough, but I could choose my shifts sometimes, and some days I could work doubles, and the other days have my free time to train. But if I stay back in Brazil, I couldn't do that because I was just fresh out of uni, and I had to get a job. And where was the time to train, you know?
Yeah.
And if I turn to my parents and say, all right, so that's the thing, I'm not gonna work a lot because I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu. They're like, you're crazy. You just finished uni, you're gonna throw everything away to for a hobby. Like, my mom thought I was doing judo for 4 years because she knew that I had a gi, and she's like, you do judo, right? It's like, no, man, I do jiu-jitsu. I've been doing for 5 years.
Come on, mom.
Come on. So if I tell her my life is jiu-jitsu now, and you know, my work and the time I spend at uni, it's secondary, she'll just laugh at me, you know. But I was here by myself. There was no one to control me. I could do whatever I want, pretty much, you know. But I don't think I would live out of jiu-jitsu today if I stayed back in Brazil instead of coming over.
Right.
That's for sure.
A massive opportunity then.
Yeah.
And lucky for all of us at Gracie Baja, now we've got you as one of our head coaches. Then
it was like right place and right time, because if someone comes over today, it's totally different, you know. Like, someone comes over today from Brazil as a blue belt, the way I was, and it's expected to live out of jiu-jitsu, they're gonna have to move to Alice Spring, you know. There is jiu-jitsu everywhere already.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Would you say jiu-jitsu's grown faster than you expected from when you arrived in Australia? Did you expect it? Because now, man, there's jiu-jitsu schools everywhere. All my friends who don't know anything about martial arts and fighting, they know what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, you could say that, but it's still a lot of room to improve, for improvement, you know, and growth. What we need is people willing to live in remote areas, which is in general not as nice as living in the city, you know. That's why it's still not growing the way it could, because especially like someone that come over already as a black belt, for who already live overseas, for example, someone comes over from US, a black belt to Australia, they already gonna have the understand of how running a business work and how to open a gym work, you know. But for a lot of people from Brazil, you guys probably not gonna get there, but Professor Rodolfo, he's gonna understand. For the longest time, everyone from Brazil going overseas, they thought that they could play soccer better than everyone else, you know? And for a lot of people in Brazil, it's the same with jiu-jitsu. They're like, you know what? I'm Brazilian. It's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I go overseas, I can take over. But it's not like that anymore, you know? And it's just the people with the right mentality that need to come over, go to the remote areas that there is no jiu-jitsu yet, you know, and stay there. And work from nothing. That's just hard, you know.
Of course. That's really interesting. Do you think that's because the level of jiu-jitsu in somewhere like Australia has gone up so much more now than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the black belts and even like someone coming up, probably a purple belt who wants to live out jiu-jitsu, most of them, they want to combine the nice lifestyle and the business. So, you know, what is a nice lifestyle? By the beach, you know, in a nice city where you have things to do. You want to go to Tamworth, you know, what are you going to do there, you know?
Hey, man, Tamworth's a nice place.
So why do you live in Sydney then?
I lived with my parents for a long time because I couldn't afford to move. Let's move on, Professor. Maybe let's jump back to competition. So you spoke about basketball prepared you well to compete, even in jiu-jitsu. Man, I played basketball for a long time. There's a lot more elbows being thrown in basketball than people realize, for sure. But I don't feel like for myself it helped to prepare. Maybe, you know, I was interested in competition, but the actual act of like fighting someone, being on a mat fighting someone still felt very, very different to me than anything I'd done, even in basketball or even rugby. So what advice would you give for students who, you know, they love jiu-jitsu, they've got a drive to compete, they understand well that competition, whether or not you like it, will help you grow a lot and help your jiu-jitsu grow a lot, but the mental challenge of fighting someone is difficult. What advice would you give them?
Well, it is difficult. But my students, they probably know that I say that every time. The only difference in between the comp and a hard train at the gym is a lot of people watching, you know? That's it, you know? Like every comp I go myself, when I'm preparing, warming up and, you know, think about what I'm going to do. One thing that I always tell myself, who do I train with? Who have I compete against already, you know? So what am I going to do now? Just one more, you know? As soon as the match ends, win or losing, people look to the other match, and that's it. Of course, some people will pay more attention on your match than the others. But if you worry about a lot of people gonna think that you didn't do well when you lost, you know, don't worry about it, because it lasts 5 minutes or 7 minutes, whatever your fight lasts. People go there to watch matches, you know. Who's watching, especially in jiu-jitsu, because most of the spectators are also practitioners. They are outside because some of them they didn't have the balls to be inside. So that's fine, you know. Even if you have a quick lose, no one's gonna think less of you, you know. And life goes on. You don't have to worry about I'm not gonna compete because I'm gonna lose. Of course, you're not gonna lose. You're not gonna compete, you know. Who competes? That's every now and then. I try to translate some expression from Brazil to my students, and I tell everyone, who's on the bench will never miss a penalty shoot, you know?
Yeah.
You're gonna be on the field, you know? And who's on the bench, probably not gonna laugh at you because they didn't have the balls to be there. So you don't have to worry about, you just train as much as you can, you know? Try your best. Didn't work out, no problem, you know? Especially today that jiu-jitsu is still amateur sport. You don't win or lose money winning or losing a fight. You know, what's gonna change in your life? It's not a big deal, you know.
Yeah. Man, it's a good point, huh? I get so worried about what my coaches are going to think when I fight. Anyway, okay, for competition then. Let's talk maybe about your history of competition too. I know I've been to your gym. I've seen the very cool photo of you with Keenan Cornelius up on your wall. Could you maybe, I don't know, do you have a favorite experience from competition over the years? Or maybe even worst experiences too? What are some of the sort of stories from competition you've collected that you could tell us?
I have a few. I was lucky enough to compete on a generation where there was a lot of tough guys around, and that's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. You know, you don't have to be on top of the world to compete with some of your idols. You know, as long as you stick with jiu-jitsu and reach your black belt and stay active, you can just join a comp that someone they look up to are gonna be on the same bracket. You know, like. For example, in 2010, as a brown belt, when I went to the Worlds, I had Buchecha in my bracket. He was on the other side, you know. Of course, I never got to face him, but the cool thing is to be there, you know.
Yeah.
You know that you are among the guys that made big, you know. But a very cool story that I have is when I was fresh in my black belt, 2010. And I went to the Pump X. So I never like so much to try to study my opponents because sometimes that can get into your head. As long as you've been trained well and you take action on the fight, that's fine, you know. And that's what happened. I went to Melbourne in 2010. The Pump X still big, but wasn't the way it is today, you know. And I knew that it was myself and 3 other guys in the bracket, and I won the first fight. The second fight, I beat the guy for like a sweep, a sweep from deep half guard that was working. I was working a lot. I managed to beat him. And afterwards, you know, I was happy. It was my first black belt tournament, the Pan Pacific that I won. And everyone came to congratulate me. I was like, okay, nice, but why is everyone coming over, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then Peter Bean, the president of Australia Jiu-Jitsu Association, they came over, like, Julio, good job, you know? It was a great fight. I was like, yeah, thanks, man. Don't know who you beat? I was like, who? Victor. His name is Victor Costa. He was like a month before. He had just won the first no-gi Brazilian Championship open weight.
Wow. Okay.
And he's the owner of Coral Geese as well. And I was like, oh really? And afterward, it hit me. I was like, man, if I knew before, I'll probably hold back, you know, and try to do something else. But I knew what I could do. I pulled my positions, worked, you know, and I was great, you know.
Yeah.
So, but the funny thing is, because I wasn't in a deep half guard, and it took me a while to sweep him. Before I actually managed to sweep, I had few attempts. Then I felt something wrong with my lower back. But I know during the fight you're fine, you won, you go. So fight was over, stuff like that. Back then, you had to go back on on the next day for the open weight. It wasn't on the same day. And I pulled something on my low back, and I just couldn't move anymore, you know? So the next day I woke up, took me maybe 10 minutes to get out of the bed because I couldn't be straight.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was stiff. So I walked, I went to the company way just to watch. But the moment they walked in, they were calling my name. They were calling my name, Julio Guerra, Mat 1, open weight. And I was like, man, sorry, but
no way.
I gave all yesterday. You know, I just came to watch today.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
So, you know, there's a lot of fun stories. I'm very happy with everything I've been through so far, and all became, you know, good memories.
Man, that's really interesting story about beating Vitor, then finding out he's the champion afterwards. Justifies perfectly what you were saying about, like, man, you look at them too much, you're gonna beat yourself.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Alrighty, maybe a few more questions I have for you before we open up the questions to everyone else. So guys, if you haven't you have a burning question for Professor Julio, especially maybe you're one of his students and you've been too afraid to ask something, now would be a good time. But maybe just before we get to the questions, Professor, some sort of last questions about jiu-jitsu, you know, the not just the sport itself, but what it's like as like a lifestyle and a philosophy, you know, the different ways people try to incorporate jiu-jitsu into their life. As a coach, as a professor and a black belt, what do you think when, you know, a student walks in the door? Obviously everyone's different, and eventually as you get to know them, there's something specific to them that will be the best thing to give them. But for the general student, for every student who does jiu-jitsu, what is the number one thing that you try to give them when they train with you, or you hope they are able to develop as they train jiu-jitsu?
Well, what I try to do for most students that never had any experience with martial arts, or maybe with like competitive sports in general, they have to be comfortable in the beginning. You know, like if you just match them with someone that doesn't know how to take it easy, it's hard. So most people will be fine to do the top position for first month at least, you know. So I just like, all right, guys, we're gonna have this the new guy here, you know, specific train today. We're doing close guard from the bottom, but when this guy come over, make sure you let him he stay on top, you know, at least for today or for the next couple of weeks. Not a lot of people will deal with losing well. So in the beginning, you gotta take a little easy, you know, let them think that they can win. Even though some people they'll be fine of not being taken care of this way straight away, but it's in most part for the most people, it's better to let them feel that they are getting something out of the training instead of just, you know, using strength, you know. And of course they're going to stick around because of the environment. So as long as you create a nice environment, someone come over, the higher belts, you know, introduce themselves, you know, and ask them, my first time today, and then I come over here, I'll show you something. That's what they keep them on the mats. It's not like if they're beating someone or not, you know, it's the environment. But they also need to feel that they're winning, because some people don't have that. Some people come from, they finish work, a very busy day, you know, and then they come over here. They need to have a win.
Yeah, they don't need to get smashed bottom side control for an hour and a half.
Afterwards, it's fine. You know who's been around long enough to finish work and still get his match afterwards.
Yeah. Terrific, man. To make them feel comfortable, I guess, then.
Pretty much, yeah.
To get to the black belt is like a mountain, but if that's what they feel like at the beginning, no one's going to join our sport.
it is, but that's one thing that I try to tell everyone. It is hard to get a black belt. Of course it is. Why? Because most people start training, let's say, in the 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens in your 20s? You go to uni, you probably meet your wife, and then you have a kid. And that's why it's hard to get a black belt, because besides taking care of all of this, you still have to train. And most people can juggle everything, but don't stop. Probably train less, Train once a week is the ideal. Probably not, but it's better than don't do it all. And then once things get more organized in your personal life, probably you still can fit another day of training. So now you train twice, and then eventually you train it 3 or 4 times again. But there is a period in your life that you're gonna have to juggle a couple of things. You're gonna have too much on your plate, and you just have to slow down, but don't stop. And that's why it's hard to get a black belt, because some people, when they see that it's getting hard, they look around like, why can I drop to focus on this? And maybe they never go back. That's sad, because they're always gonna regret something. You can't do something in your 40s, that you could do in your 20s. So you can miss opportunities to do some things in your life. When father time hits, there's nothing you can do.
That's it. Except for jump on an interview instead, Professor. Okay. So you spoke about one of the big challenges for people with jiu-jitsu is keeping it a part of their life, right? Finding a way to make the time, even if it's once a week, and you just have to find a way to kind of make that once a week and don't stop. But what about for students? What advice would you have for those who feel one of the other common sensations with jiu-jitsu, right, is not just, oh, maybe it's hard to get to training, but that when I get to training, I get smashed. And for 3 months, I've been trying my best, and I don't feel like I'm learning something. That sensation of no or very slow progression. What would you say to students who feel that in their jiu-jitsu?
I heard this thing the other day, which I think is very true, that jiu-jitsu never get easy, but you're gonna get better. So if in 3 months you think that now I know, like now it's easy. It's not that easy, because you learn that if you put your hand there, someone's gonna humble you. So you don't put your hand there anymore. So you're getting better, right? So if you're still getting smashed for the same guy over and over again, that's what I tell my students. So sometimes I'm 41, I'm getting old, but for 5 minutes I can still train hard, right? So if you want to beat me, you're probably not going to beat me, right? I mean, my students. But try to lose for little, Try to lose by advantage. Don't risk it all. Over time, let's say a couple of weeks, losing by points, you're going to give you the confidence to try to do something, But some people, they don't have the patience to lose by, for example, the fight that you mentioned. So when I had the opportunity to compete against Kenyan, I lost for 4 points. I managed to defend my arm in the end. I just lost by points, You gotta take a small win sometimes, So a small win against someone that's way better than you is a big win.
Yeah, for sure. Especially someone like Keenan, man. Incredible.
Exactly. So like, man, everyone here who have opportunity to train Professor Marcelo, you can't let Professor Marcelo mount you. You're gonna tap, you know.
I'll write that down.
So for the longest time, I tapped, you know. So let's say I can't remember last time I I I I tapped for him to mount, but every time he mounts, it's like, all right, he's in mount. He's just gonna win by passing my goddamn mount. I'll fight until the end, not to tap. So and I could see in his eyes that he would submit me for everything, but I managed to survive. So that was my win, you know. And he knew it. He knows, Professor. Are you there, Professor Marcel? No, he's not there. You know.
Maybe not tonight.
it's you gotta take the little wins sometimes, you know, to keep going.
A bit of perspective. Understand that you're not gonna submit everyone, right? Sometimes to win is to survive.
Exactly. You know.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Alrighty. I got one more question, but this is it, guys. If you wanna ask questions for Professor Julio, start dropping them into the Zoom chat. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, I'll get those popping up on my screen too. My last question for you, Professor, while people get their questions in. Competition, right? Obviously, it's been important for you in your jiu-jitsu journey. But do you think it's mandatory? Do you think the average jiu-jitsu student, right, they have to compete, or they should try to compete, or what role do you think competition has for them?
I think competition help you to speed up the learning process. You know, as I mentioned before, when I was purple belt, that I went to the last World Championship that was in Brazil. In the quarterfinals, I lost by tapping for Amba from close guard. You know? That was 2006. You know, of course I tapped for Amba afterwards from close guard, but it was very few times. So something that happens during a comp, especially the bad things, sticks with you and help you not to make the same mistake again. That's one way to speed up the learning process, you know. So that's why you see someone that start training and right away takes on comps and like, for example, Jeff compete, let's say from his third or fourth month until now, you know. He's still a purple belt, but he's a very good purple belt. And it's not because he trains a lot, because the mistakes that he makes in comps, he doesn't make again very often, you know. And sometimes making silly mistakes in the gym, you just forget and keep going, but you don't forget a big mistake that stop you to win a big comp. Those stays with you.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot. But do you need to compete to reach a black belt, for example? You don't have to. But I will advise, and every student that I advise to compete, it's not because I want them to test themselves. It's because I know that they can do it. I don't approach any students and try to talk him into compete if I don't feel he can do it. If I clearly see that someone that comes over just to have fun and then hanging out, and of course exercise and learn jiu-jitsu, and don't have much time to train because they have big kids and, you know, busy work, that's fine, you know. I don't mention, but if someone that trains well, smash everyone in the gym, but they never found themselves going to a comp, I pull them aside and I ask you, why don't you compete? You'll be all right, you know.
Yeah.
But it's from person to person, you know. Like even though we train together, you know, and you need your team to push you and stuff like that. The competition is it's just you. If you don't want to do it, you don't do it, you know. But as I was saying before, it's no big deal. It's just you know, a hard training for a lot of people watching.
Everyone's gonna forget in a minute anyway.
Yeah, pretty much, you know.
Awesome, man. Professor, you've been terrific. I have all these questions on Zoom. Let's power through some of these. I have to admit, I asked a few times for questions. I think there was a bug on my Zoom. None of the chat had popped up. So, guys, if you asked a question while I was interviewing Professor, I'm sorry I didn't get to it until now. Let's start with Claire from Gracie Baja Orange. She asks, ooh, this is a great question, actually. Can you train a don't give up attitude for competition? Can you coach that into someone?
Don't give up attitudes. Yes, you can. It probably takes the right person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
On a day by day, you get to know which student you can push a little more. You can't push everyone the same. You gotta cater the coaching on a way to push the person for competition. After you know the person, you know, you can't just like, for example, even on my competition class, just because it's called competition class, doesn't mean that who comes to the class has to go hard all the time. Some people want to be among the people they're competing, just to feel like they help the competitors, you know. And when they go and watch the competitors, that win, it's from them too, you know. So the person kind of let you know, like let the coach know that they can be pushed. I guess it takes some experience to see the student that can be pushed or not. It's you just get to know that on a day by day training.
Which ones can be turned into little monsters.
Yeah, pretty much.
Terrific. Alrighty, a question from Tony. Tony Lowe, I believe one of your students. Man, yeah. When I came to Westride to train with Jeff and your team, Tony gave me some real trouble. What a tough dude. Tony asks, for younger generation athletes who are looking at making jiu-jitsu their career, what advice would you give them to guide them on that road?
Tony's a great boy. So he helps with the kids class, and he's not having the support of his parents lately. So it's very tough for him. His brother trains with us too. That's how he came over. Will, the guy that footlocks everyone. But you can't let what you see on the internet get your head confused. You know, everyone has to start from the bottom. As I was saying before, a blue belt, a purple belt. Don't get me wrong, but you're just a blue belt, a purple belt. You know, you can't expect to have a special treatment when you are a lower belt. You have to go through the steps, and your time will come. You know, what do you have to do? You have to train. You know, be smart. Don't get injured. Don't overlook injuries, because I see a lot of people quite young having very bad injuries where when they like middle, late 20s, they can't really perform, very well anymore. And jiu-jitsu is a marathon. It's not a sprint. How many people will be world champions? Not many. But for you to give yourself an opportunity to have a chance to be a champion, you gotta think in the future. You gotta think: are you 16, 18 years old? You're gonna be able to compete for world championship when you're on your middle 20s. It's not gonna happen tomorrow. So you just gotta be patient, head down, and keep working.
Hell yeah. Keep going, Tony. You're a tough dude already, bro. 10 more years, you're going to be smashing all of us, man. Alrighty, one more question from Liam from Gracie Baja Bondi. He says, "Hi, Professor. Thank you for sharing everything you've given us tonight. If you could pick one thing about your game which has really helped you to succeed against your opponents in competition, what would that be?" He puts as well, maybe it's a favorite set of techniques, a concept, a mindset. What is something special that you try to take with you to every competition?
Something that I always try to do is be ahead on the scoreboard as soon as I can. You know, score the first point and take your time, because as the fight goes on and your opponent knows that he's losing, the mistake comes. So you probably find yourself more opportunities to do stuff. Of course, if you see something easy to do, just take it. But if you're already ahead in points, if you take something that wasn't there and make a mistake, that mistake doesn't become the reason why you lost the fight, because you're still ahead in points. So the points give you the confidence to risk a fancy move that you want to try, but also get your opponent to make the mistakes that he probably wouldn't do it if he had to win, if he had to try. You know, I try to do that. I try to score first.
That is a brilliant piece of advice. I've never thought about something like that before. I'm sitting here like, wow, terrific. Alrighty. Guys, if there's any more questions, you got a couple seconds to bang it into the chat before we close up. Professor Julio, man, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for sharing so much with us this evening. I hope when this lockdown ends and the next time that I visit West Ride, you'll be there too, and I'll get to train with you. But I think that's it. Everyone who came and listened, thank you so much for asking questions. Thank you so much. Keep up your training, my friends, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Julio. That's awesome. Thank you so much, man. Inspiring everyone from GB Carlton, GB Bondi, and GB Orange as well. So, yeah, thank you so much, both of you, for the amazing interview.
My pleasure, man.
Thank
you so much, Professor Julio.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you to hear your great to hear your stories. Thank you.
Glad you enjoy it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for coming, Tony. See you sometime soon, man. Awesome. Professor, thank you so much.
Yes!
Hey, he is here. Bro.
Jeff, you bought the same Beats earphone I had.
I did, man. I did. I cracked. Oh, one thing you said, Nick, Tony, in 10 years, you still won't be smashing me, brother.
Whoa.
All right, Jeff. Okay. We'll see about that.
Hey,
we'll see about that.
Tony, does Jeff bully you, bro?
Oh yeah. He's the biggest bully in our gym.
No, I'm not. I'm so nice.
Like I don't bully anyone. I'm the nicest kid there. Like I don't do anything to anyone. Like I'm out here giving chocolates to the kids and stuff, and this guy's like picking me up and throwing me around the gym. Like honestly.
Just
bro,
have a haircut, Tony, and become a bully.
Yeah, Tony, when's your K-pop album coming out?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.